This is section 6.6, part 1, arithmetic series. So this is going to build off what we learned last time with sequences. So a series is the sum of the terms in a sequence. So here we have a sequence, 3, 7, 11, 15. If we want to talk about this as a series, all we need to do is add these numbers up. So we would add 3 and 7 and 11 and 15. And the total of those numbers would be 36. So we are introducing a new term now, Sn, and it's the sum of a series. So we added all those numbers together. So when we talk about series, we have a new formula if we want to calculate the sum right here. So we have Sn, which you've just found out means sum. N is the same as in the last formula where it means number of terms. A1 is our first term, and then Tn is either the last term or a term specified. Okay. Now just to note here, it says down here, N is the sum of the series, N is the number of terms, A1 is the value of the first term, Tn is the value of the last term. And just a note about your workbook, sometimes they refer to the Tn as they call it An, but it means the same thing. So you might see like A20 in your workbook. That when you see that, that means Tn. Okay, anything that's not just A1 is the Tn. So let's look at some examples of this. So here it says find the sum of the 15 numbers if A1 is 5 and A15 is 75. Okay, so we're going to write down what we know. We know A1 is equal to 5. We know N is equal to 15. Okay, we're reading that. It says it both here, 15 here, both those places where you would normally have a subscript N. Okay, it's 15. Here, Tn is equal to 75. So this question, they're calling it A15. That means Tn. Okay, they're just labeling it differently. And then we need to find Sn is equal to question mark. So we're going to write out our formula. Sn is equal to N over 2 A1 plus Tn. And then we're going to fill in the information we know. So we don't know what Sn is. We know our N is 15. And our A1 is 5, and our Tn is 75. Okay, so now here we have a fraction, 15 over 2. You could work with this fraction and multiply it into the brackets, but it's much easier to just turn this into a decimal. So here 15 doesn't divide perfectly by 2, but we can still write it as a decimal. So that's what we're going to do. So Sn is equal to 7.5. Then we need to simplify inside our brackets. So we're going to add 5 and 75 together. And we get 80, like this. And then our final step is we need to multiply the 7.5 times the 80. So here we get 7.5 times 80 is going to be 600. So in this case, our Sn is 600. So let's try another example now. In this next one, they don't want to find Sn, they're telling us the Sn. They want us to find N. So N, if Sn is 70, A1 is 5, and Tn is 30. So here they're calling it Tn. Okay, so remember, this and this are the same. All right, so A1 is equal to 5. We don't know an N. Tn is equal to 30. Sn is equal to 70 and N is equal to question mark. So we'll use our formula. All right, we'll fill in what we know. So we know that Sn is 70. We don't know N. We do know A1 is 5 and we do know Tn is 30. So now we have to simplify. So we're going to add the 5 and 30 together. Now here, again, you can work with the fraction if you want to. You also have the option to change that into a decimal. So when a number like this is on top, what it's actually saying is, oh, not a number, I mean letter. When a letter is on top, it's actually saying like, it's like this, 1/2 n. So n over 2 and 1/2 n mean the same thing, okay? So if you wanted to change a half into a decimal, you would just divide a half in your calculator, 1 over 2, and you get 0.5. So I can either write that as a 1/2 n, or I can just write this as 0.5 n. And then I've added up 5 and 35, or sorry, 5 and 30, and I get 35. Okay, next I need to multiply these two things together. So 0.5 n times 35, and I'm going to get 17.5 n. Having a decimal is fine. Then we're going to, we want the n to be by itself, so we're going to divide both sides by 17.5. So we get n is equal to 4 as a final answer. All right. So what I want you to do is pause now. You're going to go to page 269, and you're going to try out 2A and D, just those two letters, okay? Because the rest of the question requires another step that I'm going to show you in part 2.